Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into something I'm incredibly passionate about. That is the wisdom of your body and what it's trying to tell you when you're feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or just frankly like that disconnected feeling. Have you ever had that experience where you get a full 8 hours of sleep but still wake up feeling like you've been hit by a truck? Or maybe even found yourself like at that 3 p.m. marker in the afternoon, staring at your computer, completely unable to make even the simplest decision? I know I have. Or, maybe you've even noticed that certain social invitations and situations make your stomach churn, like maybe like instantly knot up. Here's the thing. These aren't random experiences. They're actually your body's own sophisticated communication system trying to get your attention. I want to share something really personal with you today. For years, I pushed through these signals. I was the king of mind over matter. But for me, it took a complete health crisis for me to finally understand that, my body wasn't my enemy. It was desperately trying to be my ally. After my own mother's whispered to me her final days, listen, I wish I'd lived for myself more. When I heard those words, everything changed for me. I realized that the chronic exhaustion, the anxiety, the physical symptoms that I'd been experiencing weren't separate issues. They really were all connected to one root cause, and that root cause was self-abandonment. So today we're going to explore 5 powerful connections between your body and your emotional health. And I promise, understanding these connections will transform how you experience energy, relationships, decision-making in your own life, just as they've helped me with mine. So let's dive in. So let's start with something that most of us struggle with, feeling exhausted despite getting a quote unquote enough sleep, right? Here's the truth that changed everything for me. Chronic exhaustion isn't about sleep quantity, it's about the quality of the connection with yourself. When I used to hit snooze 5 times every morning, despite sleeping 8 hours, I thought I just needed more caffeine or maybe even a better mattress. But what I didn't understand was that sleep isn't just a physical rest. It's actually emotional processing time as well. And you think about it, really. Have you ever noticed how exhausted you feel after an emotionally draining day, even if you weren't physically active? That's because emotional labor depletes your energy reserves, just as much as physical work might do, and sometimes maybe even more. Because see, during sleep, your body is designed to repair itself physically and emotionally process experiences throughout the day. But when you spend your days in self-abandonment mode, ignoring your needs, pushing aside your feelings, people-pleasing until you're empty, your body can't complete that emotional processing work overnight. So what ends up happening? Well, you wake up maybe physically rested, but you're actually emotionally depleted. Here's what's really happening during what I actually refer to as poor sleep. Your body repairs, but your emotions don't process. Cortisol stays elevated instead of following its natural rhythm, and inflammatory markers increase because your nervous system stays in fight or flight. Your digestive system works overtime trying to process what your mind won't acknowledge. Does any of this sound familiar? Listen, I remember one morning waking up after actually what was 9 hours of sleep and feeling so exhausted, I could barely lift my head off the pillow. And that was the day I finally acknowledged something much deeper was happening inside of me. It's that I wasn't just tired, my body was screaming at me to stop abandoning myself. So what changed? Well, I started implementing what I call morning connection rituals. These morning connection rituals, well, they're simple practices that honor the body-emotion connection right from the first moments of the day. This can start with 5 minutes of breath work upon waking, just placing one hand over my heart and one over my belly, maybe getting protein within 30 minutes of rising to stabilize blood sugar. Movements that honor my capacity that day, not what some influencer told me that I should be doing. Getting rid of hustle culture. Stating 3 authentic feelings aloud, not I feel like, but actual emotions. Setting one boundary for the day, checking messages or emails. This transformation wasn't instant, but it was really profound. And when I started treating my exhaustion as a messenger rather than an enemy, everything really shifted. You see, your fatigue isn't a character flaw, it's your body's wisdom speaking. The question really is, though, are you listening? Are you ready to? So now let's talk about connection, both with yourself and with others, because here's what's fascinating. The quality of your relationship with yourself directly impacts the capacity for authentic connection with other people. I spent years forcing myself to be social when my nervous system was completely depleted. I'd push myself to attend events only to spend days literally recovering afterward. I thought being good at relationships meant saying yes to everything and managing everyone else's emotions. But after watching how self-abandonment became physical illness in my own mother's life, I learned something revolutionary about connection. It's that your nervous system state is contagious. And this is where polyvagal theory comes in. It's the science of how our nervous system interacts with each other. And when you're in what's called the ventral vagal state, that's calm, regulated, and present, you actually create safety for authentic connection. But when you're dysregulated, others can feel it, even if you think you're hiding it well. The summer months especially highlight our connection patterns. And with more social invitations and gatherings, we're faced with constant choices about how to spend our energy. But if your cup is empty from self-abandonment, these connections become draining rather than nourishing. And here are a few signs that your nervous system might actually be too depleted for genuine connection. Social anxiety is one, and this increases when you're already running on empty. People-pleasing patterns intensify because you don't have the energy to set boundaries. You absorb others' emotions uncontrollably. Small talk might feel exhausting rather than engaging. And you might actually find yourself avoiding gatherings despite genuinely wanting connection. Does any of this sound familiar? I know I have experienced all of these. But here's the good news. It's that your nervous system is incredibly responsive to regulation practices, and summer actually offers some beautiful opportunities for this. Morning sun exposure helps reset your circadian rhythm, which directly impacts your nervous system regulation. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of morning sunlight can make a significant difference. Barefoot walking, feeling the earth beneath your feet, activates grounding pathways that help regulate your nervous system. And establishing energy boundaries that honor your actual capacity rather than what you think you should be able to handle. I remember being invited to 3 events in one weekend and feeling immediate panic. Before my health crisis, I would have said yes to all 3 and spent the following week completely depleted and recovering. But now, I check in with my nervous system first and say, what is my actual capacity here? What would feel nourishing rather than depleting? And sometimes that means saying no. Sometimes it means going for an hour to an event instead of staying for 3 or all night long. Sometimes it means bringing a friend as a buffer, even a wingman or wingwoman. The point I'm making is that these decisions from connection with myself first, and ironically, that means I'm far more present and available to connect when I show up. Now, I want to talk about something that completely transformed my relationship with myself and with others. And that is actually what's called heart-brain coherence. Did you know that your heart has its own neural network? It's literally a second brain with about 40,000 neurons that communicate directly with your main brain, the cerebral cortex. The heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than the brain's own field. I mean, think about that. And this field extends beyond your body and can be measured up to several feet away. I spent years checking out during conversations, feeling disconnected, even with people I loved. What I didn't know was that my heart-brain coherence was completely dysregulated from chronic stress and self-abandonment. After my mother's passing, I started experiencing panic attacks that physically demonstrated how heart dysregulation affected everything. My thinking, my relationships, my ability to feel safe in my own body. And research from the Heart Math Institute shows that when we're in heart coherence with other people, when our heart rhythm follows a smooth, what's called sine wave pattern, we think more clearly, we make better decisions, and we create a field of safety for authentic connection. The fascinating thing is that other people can literally feel your heart field. Think about this. Have you ever been around someone who just feels safe? Or someone who makes you feel on edge, even when they're being perfectly nice? That right there, my friends, is heart coherence, or a lack of it in action. And here's what changed everything for me about heart intelligence. It's the fact that your heart communicates wisdom before your mind can even put it into words. Emotional suppression or pushing down what you really feel disrupts this coherence. Authentic expression activates coherence, and heart coherence enables you to set healthy boundaries without building walls. The transformation happened when I started including my heart in decision-making. No more overthinking, no more people-pleasing from fear, just clear, grounded choice making from a place of inner safety. And the simple practice I use daily is called 5-5-5 breathing. Breathing in for 5 seconds, holding for 5, and exhaling for 5. And while doing this, I place my hand on my heart. I visualize breathing through my heart center right here. Just 2 to 3 minutes of this 5-5-5 breathing creates measurable changes in heart coherence. And I feel it immediately. It's literally a sense of calm clarity. Your heart's intelligence is the foundation for all authentic relationships, including the one you have with yourself. And so let's talk about something most productivity gurus never mention, that 3 p.m. decision fatigue crash. And I know you know what I'm talking about here. It's that time in the afternoon when suddenly deciding between answering an email or getting a glass of water feels impossibly complex. Every day at 3 p.m., I used to stare at my laptop, unable to make simple decisions. Should I respond to that email? Should I reschedule that patient? What's for dinner? Should I accept this invitation? The decision fatigue literally felt paralyzing. And after my own health crisis revealed how years of self-abandonment had literally dysregulated my nervous system, I discovered something life-changing. The decision fatigue is often a combination of blood sugar dysregulation and accumulated boundary violations. So let me say that again. Your inability to make decisions in the afternoon isn't a character flaw. It's your body's response to a day of self-abandonment. And here's what happens. In the morning, you have a full store of willpower and mental energy. And as the day progresses, every decision you make draws from that store. But the depletion accelerates dramatically in the following situations. So when you're overriding your body signals all day, like I'll just push through lunch and let shoulds replace authentic desires. I should take on this project even though I'm overwhelmed. People pleasing at the expense of your own needs. Sure, I can help with that even though I'm on a deadline. By 3 p.m., you're not just dealing with decision fatigue, you're experiencing a full body response to accumulated boundary violations. So what's the good news? There is good news, I promise. Your body holds incredible wisdom about which decisions align with your authentic needs. The gut feeling you get about certain choices isn't random. It's actually sophisticated communication system trying to guide you towards self-trust. And here's what transformed my afternoons: implementing what I call an afternoon reset protocol. That looks like drinking water with a pinch of salt for electrolyte balance, Himalayan salt, eating a small protein and complex carb snack, taking 3 conscious breaths at 3 p.m., asking, what does my body need right now? And honoring the first answer, even if my mind tries to override it. When I started aligning my choices with body wisdom instead of external expectations, decision-making became almost effortless. The anxiety dissolved and clarity emerged. Your intuition is always speaking. It just gets buried under blood sugar crashes and people pleasing. It's literally that simple. So let's bring all this together with some practical tips that most of us struggle with. So how to decline invitations without guilt when our bodies are saying no. I used to say yes to every invitation, then spend days recovering, as I mentioned before. Then exhaustion, then digestive issues, the way my body would literally contract at certain events. I dismissed it all as just simple anxiety. But at the end of the day, I knew that wasn't really the case. And what I didn't recognize was that my body always knows my capacity before my mind does. Those physical signals weren't character flaws to overcome. They were wisdom to honor. When your stomach tightens at certain invitations, or your energy drops just thinking about an event, or you feel an overwhelming sense of relief when someone cancels, those aren't random reactions. They're actually your body's sophisticated communication system telling you something important about your capacity and boundaries. In my household growing up, managing my own father's emotional distance and my mother's anxiety, I learned that my needs weren't safe to express. So I became the person who would always show up, always say yes, always put others first. But here's what changed everything about honoring my body's signals around social invitations. Your gut contraction is wisdom, not weakness. Energy depletion is data, not dysfunction. Relief at cancellation is honestly not rudeness. Protecting your capacity actually protects relationships in the long run. And people who respect your boundaries respect you. When I started declining invitations that my body resisted, something magical happened. The quality of my connections actually deepened. The people who stayed were the ones who valued my authenticity over my availability. A simple practice I use now is the 24-hour pause. And when invited, they say something, I say, hey, let me check my energy and get back to you tomorrow. This gives me space to check in with my body rather than responding from conditioning or obligation. And if energy feels weird, you just say scheduled. The only thing important is that you know what it is. And your body signals are invitations to self-respect, not character flaws to overcome. So here we are. We've journeyed through the wisdom of exhaustion, the science of nervous system regulation, the intelligence of your heart, the body's role in decision-making, and the truth about honoring your authentic capacity. The common thread, it's that your body is constantly communicating with you. It's not your enemy. It's not something to override. It's your most loyal ally in creating a life of authentic connection and genuine joy. And when I look back at who I was before my own health crisis, the people pleaser who abandoned himself daily, who pushed through exhaustion, who said yes when his body screamed no, I feel so much compassion for that former version of myself. He did the best he could with the tools he had. And that's what I want you to leave you with here today. Compassion for whenever you are in this journey, wherever you are in this journey, of learning to listen to your body's wisdom. Whether you're just beginning to recognize these patterns, or you're well along the path of reclaiming your connection with yourself, you are exactly where you need to be. The transformation isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about pausing long enough to hear what your body has been trying to tell you all along. Because here's the truth. When you heal your relationship with yourself, you heal your relationships with everyone else as well. And the quality of connection you have with your own body and emotions directly impacts the quality of connection you can create with others. So I invite you to try just one of the practices from today's video. Maybe it's the morning connection ritual. Maybe it's heart coherence breathing. Maybe it's simply pausing before saying yes to the next invitation. Start where you're at. Start with what feels accessible to you. And remember, your body's wisdom transcends any external advice, including mine. Trust what resonates and leave the rest. So until next time.